You know, Brian gets asked all the time, what hearing protection does your crew use? The answer, IsoTunes. IsoTunes are the only brand that we found that offers great hearing protection, all-day comfort, and extended battery life to get through the day. Now through the 16th of June, save 20% on their 4 most popular models using the code BRIANS20 at checkout. Treat your hearing safety seriously. Invest in some good quality hearing protection before this 20% off sale from IsoTunes ends June 16th. If you get Brian's email newsletter, check your inbox for details, and we've also provided a link in the podcast description.
You're now listening to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. Straightforward, no-nonsense business advice. Completely unfiltered. Grow your business. Grow your life. Now, here's your host, Brian Fullerton.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. It is your host, Brian Fullerton, here hanging with you guys. Good morning. Always excited about getting different guests on the show. And not only that, folks that are just pillars in the green industry, lawn and landscaping community, and folks that are just always trying to do their best to elevate all of us out there into having a more successful, not only business, but life. Today, joined by one of my dear friends and somebody who I absolutely respect and admire what he's putting together over there with his platforms and everything he's got going on. We've got the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Paul Jamison, joining us from the Green Industry Podcast. Good afternoon, Paul. How you doing today, brother?
Good. How are you doing, Brian?
Oh, living the dream, man. It's been a busy day. Thanks for asking. Had a couple flower installs this morning for 2 HOAs and 1 commercial site. Did about 14, 15 flats of flowers and wrapped that up by noon to hit lunch, and then had a busy afternoon with a little bit of social media recording and a little of this, little of that, man. How about you? What are you up to?
I'm down in sunny Florida. How's everything back at the ranch with your build?
Good. Actually, when I was texting you 2 minutes ago, I said, hey, give me 2 extra minutes. I actually was flying the drone because they're painting the exterior of the house today, which is really, really exciting. So I didn't want to miss that. They're making literally the first couple spray lines. It's kind of a big deal kind of moment. Liz is texting me as we're podcasting. She goes, I'm so anxious. I hope it turns out good. I hope it looks nice. So all is well. Next up is paint right now for the exterior and interior. And then honestly, it's like a mad dash. It's about 6 to 8 weeks to do everything else inside and button everything up, and they'll be out of here, man. So we're getting close, bro. We're getting close.
Now, when you originally started, what was the original finish date?
A good question. It was a 13-month build that we were quoted, so April to May. And so we're going into the first part of June here. So we probably got about another 2 months. So it's a 15, 16th-ish month build. So it's been a while, man. I feel like it's the only season I've been in for the last year and a half, 2 years of my life, you know?
Well, we're living vicariously through you. I know this is a lot of our dreams to get, several acres of land and build our dream home. So it's awesome that you're sharing the journey with us just so we can have something to aim for and strive for and hopefully be in your shoes one day.
Hey,
just not in Michigan. No offense.
Hey, I no offense taken, man. I'd rather be in sunny Florida myself, brother, or anywhere down south, Tennessee, Carolinas, Texas. So you're vice versa. Thank you. But vice versa, we're a lot of us are living vicariously through you. I know you're always on tour. You are rocking and rolling with video and audio and podcasting and YouTube. And I know you're really focusing on doing the best you can to bring the best product, to anybody listening in and anybody starting a lawn care landscaping business. I think you dubbed yourself at one point sort of like the morning show, an easy 20, 30 minute listen and, maybe the tip of the day. And then, you guys can get off to the races and start mowing and landscaping. But by the way, thank you for all the kind words. If anybody wants a quick inside baseball, make more money, no matter what you do, Paul, as you get a wife and kids and aspire to have a home or build a home, I promise you the answer is make more money. Of course, keeping your budget the best you can, but it's a lot more home than we needed for sure. But we wanted to have the nice house, the cool house. That way, all of our kids came on over, and all of our friends' kids, kids' friends came on over and wanted to have the cool house to just, keep a little tabs on everybody and have that cool house, So it's a process, man. But enough of me, bro. Dude, we that's a whole nother podcast for a whole other time. Your time's valuable. I only got you for a half hour. I want to get the scoop, man. You've been on tour. You are busy running around. I know you've been authoring some new books. I just saw the release the other day. Mr. Producer last night about 9 p.m. shot me a link to it, and I was able to redeem it on Audible, which is really cool. So I'm looking forward to listening to that on my desktop once I'm doing some more billing and paperwork. But dude, give me the skinny, man. What's the last 3 to 6 months been looking like for you?
Yesterday, Calcis called me and he was like, "Hey, bro." And he says, "Why didn't you narrate your audiobook?" And I said, "Well, Fullerton makes fun of me when I read. So I hired Mr. Producer to narrate."
Yeah, that's fair. Well, it wasn't so much your reading ability, just so we're clear for anybody who doesn't know and thinks I'm a jerk. I said it was the way you read it that made me laugh. And because you went on half speed, on the podcast player, you can hit 1x, 1.25, 2x, or whatever, I joked with Paul. I said, man, I've never heard anybody talk so slow in my life. And I said, that's slow for even people down south. So, yeah, man. But so that's it. I made one comment and just ruined you. You know what I mean? So, but to be totally fair, I didn't at the time know what it took to record or read the audiobook. So I probably spoke too soon, because when I did mine, it was I did the best I could. But man, talking out loud, it's pretty challenging.
Yeah, on the podcast, I'm just talking, no script, just being myself. But when you're actually reading, it's like intimidating.
Yeah. I mean, anybody have flashbacks and nightmares back to the high school days when, somebody would popcorn and, pick on you, and then not only were you not paying attention, at least that was my story, but then also you stunk reading out loud. I found it to be way more challenging reading out loud than ever anything else I've done before, video or, like you said, podcasting. So yeah, I agree. But you got a new book out, so that's probably taken a lot of your time the last winter. We're going to talk about the book a little bit. I'm super excited about getting you on and sharing about that. But what's your schedule like? This last couple of months though, man. I know you've been zipping around the country.
Yeah, I've been attending some events, and then the book, is really, as you know, Brian, it's a lot of time consumption of writing it, editing, publishing it, and now we're in the book launch phase where we're sharing with the world that it's available on Audible and things of that nature. So most of my last 6 months this has kind of been the baby I've been birthing, is getting how to build a thriving lawn care business out into the world.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. And for anybody that doesn't know your story, man, take it from the top, if you don't mind. I know we get on and just like many guests of ours, we chum it up. But for anybody who's brand new, I actually just had a listener come over just the other day. I was going to send you a screenshot. Oh man, I forget where it is. It's in my photos somewhere, but I take like 40 to 50 screenshots a day and 40, 50 photos a day, I feel like. But he just sent a message. A super nice young guy, sounded like a 20-year-old kid or something. And he said, "Hey man, just started following you on Instagram. Heard an interview with you on Paul Jameson's podcast. Excited to check out your content and everything you got going on." And he said, just went into Launchpreneur Academy the other night. Can't believe how many resources you have there, something like that. And that was it. Pretty open-ended. And I just said, "Hey man, awesome." So for anybody, that doesn't know your story, Paul, give me a minute or two, background and introduction, if you don't mind.
Yes, sir. So in 2011, I was absolutely broke, Brian. I was fresh out of college and my rent was $928, and it might as well have been $1 million. That was, my bank account was used to being minus or just a little bit, or if I had a few hundred, it was like awesome in college. And so now I'm just out of college, and $928, that's just astronomical amount of money for me. And I was flinging vitamins out of my trunk, doing a little multi-level marketing deal. So, none of my relatives, no one liked me. I didn't have any friends because I was all hitting them up. Telling how vitamins going to change your life. And so I couldn't get anyone to answer my calls. I felt like a loser, and I didn't really have any money. So I'd find a mattress on the side of the road and I'd put it on Craigslist, flip it. And I had entrepreneurial grit but I was literally just broke, Brian. And so I started mowing grass in the neighborhood that I was living in, charging these folks $25, $30. I didn't have a truck or anything like that. I had a Honda Accord that I was renting for $150 a month. And I just started cutting that grass and making that cash. And I figured if I cut enough grass, I could get to $928. And I had no idea how business worked. I had no idea I was going to have to, buy fuel to go on the mowers and buy string for the weed eater and then go fix the weed eater because I broke it. And I had no idea about business expenses. I just thought the income came in and that was it. And so that was my start in the lawn business. I wasn't chucking the truck because I was in a Honda Accord. So, but that's like the level I was at. And then over the next few years, I really kind of fell in love with business, but I still wasn't making that much money, even though I was working all day. I had to go work at Carrabba's at night. This is a couple years into my business, Brian. I was mowing, edging, trimming, blowing, flinging mulch, as you say, all day long. And I still could barely pay rent. And it was just such a struggle that I had to go get a job at Carrabba's. And so the good part of the story is eventually I started getting mentors. I started finding the YouTube online community, the folks like Johnny Moe and Greg Chisholm and your boy Calfus and Stan Genetic and the whole crowd that was back online in 2014, 2015, sharing their tips for free on the internet. Hey, here's how, Stan would be hey, here's how you do a $10,000 job. And then, I had a $10,000 job. So I was oh, wow. And I mean, Keith and Stan and those guys just helped me so much. And it really started turning the corner and I actually started making a profit. And I started getting nicer yards and just really growing. And so in 2018, I started kind of giving back, giving free content. I started the Green Industry Podcast and just started sharing and helping others the way Keith and Stan helped me, just sharing, hey, here's how much you should charge and why. Here's the expenses you should think of. Here's insurance. Just all of these basic things that I learned the hard way, setting aside money for the federal tax payment and your state tax payments. I just started sharing this information on the Green Industry Podcast, and it really started becoming popular. And then with the books, it's not everyone's going to listen to all 1,300 of my podcasts, but when I put a book out there, I feel like more people would digest that. So with this latest book, can you hear me, Brian?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay, I didn't know if hitting our desk, but I didn't hear you for a minute. But with this latest book, I wanted to write a book on profit because I know what it's like to sweat and work and have dirt underneath my fingernails. I get in trouble. Carrabba's, my boss, what the heck you doing all day, Jameson? I did 15 yards of mulch. And he's go get a manicure tomorrow. Or I'm going to fire your butt.
Wow.
He wanted to say butt, but I'd come in with dirty fingernails and everything. So I know what it's like to work hard and be a rat in a wheel just because you don't understand the business side of things. So this whole new book I wrote, How to Build a Thriving Lawn Care Business, I basically share every possible expense that goes into running the lawn care landscaping business, and then all the mistakes to avoid that cut into your profit. And so by the end of the book, you'll really know how to maximize profits for your business because, and you even, when we were hanging out in Charlotte, you even said to me, you're it ain't the top line, it's the bottom line. Mm-hmm. That's the truth. And so this book is just really taking a magnifying glass to profit and making sure that, our businesses are as profitable as possible. So that's kind of the last 15 years of entrepreneurship for me in a nutshell.
No, man, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, and I appreciate you sharing that because one, somebody has a great podcast. I mean, I think 1,000 to 1,200 plus episodes, whatever it is now. Folks, I mean, I always akin this back to getting a 4-year college degree or a master's in 5 or 6 years with your bachelor's, or frankly, just learning best practices or just some nuance, of the industry. You have 1,200 episodes just with Paul's podcast. And, I don't know what a working college year is of classes, but let's say each show is a half hour and each class you go to at school is a half hour or an hour. I would imagine you have a 4-year degree sitting right there in your podcast. And that's just one podcast. And there's 5, 10, 20 great podcasts out there now in the green industry, hardscaping, landscaping, lighting, Christmas lighting, irrigation, industry. And that's just incredible. I mean, that's so awesome. And so again, outside of the podcast that you have, now you've got a series of books, which is also really, really helpful. And, Paul, I'm sure you get this sometimes. Some folks are like, hey, man, what's the best way I can help you? Or what's the best way I can support you? You've given me so much. And I'm like, well, buy something, if you don't have a merch or a shirt or a hat, buy something that Paul can earn $1 on. Buy a book, invest into a book, redeem an audio credit. I'm sure you got 5 or 10 sitting in your account like I did until about 2 months ago. Burn a couple audio credits and buy Paul's book. I'm sure he makes about $2.85 every time, because I think that's what he makes is like $3 an audiobook or whatever. It's not millions, folks, but it's enough to help support your favorite content creator to keep bringing you the sauce. It helps keep the lights on, helps them make some money. The mission does require money, and so I anytime I can support or anytime I can help share the light or spread the light, I always want to do that for my friends, for you guys that are out there. And I think Paul's definitely one of those folks where you guys can learn a lot from. Kujo, Kujo. You know the name, now experience this incredible work shoe for yourself. Hey guys, Brian here. And just a few years ago, I wondered why there wasn't some lightweight, functional shoe for the lawn care industry. A couple of weeks later, I get a message from this new company, Kujo Yardwear, letting me know about a new shoe they created for lawn care pros. We tried them out, put them to work, and the rest, they say, is history. The guys and I love Kujos because they are lightweight, breathable, super comfortable, and keep our feet dry. No more running shoes with flimsy support and soaked socks due to the morning dew or a passing spring shower. Kujo Yardwear is a family-owned company. Sean and Kelsey are a brother-sister team, and they seriously care about offering the best products for our industry. Check them out at Kujo.com. That's Kujo.com. And don't forget to use the Brian's 10 code to save 10% on your next order. Get a pair for you and a pair for your crew. You'll be so happy that you did. I was actually just listening to your podcast this morning while I was planting flowers. You were getting interviewed by the Christmas light guy. I forget his name.
Ryan Lee.
Yeah, Ryan. Is that what it is? And it was
Ryan Lee.
At one point in the show, I could just like feel your pain of like when the Mr. Kim, you came over and he's like, Paul, I don't know how you're doing this, and you're like, bro, I know. I'm not making any money. I'm working at Carrabba's nights and weekends, and him, and then maybe was he the guy that had worked at Brightview? No, he was the dentist, right? You had another friend.
Yeah. Dr. Kim's the dentist, and Rich Jansen is the one who really could pick up that I was struggling financially.
Maybe that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, he had worked at Brightview for years, kind of on the corporate side, so he knew how dialed in they were on every little rhyme and reason of why they charge what they charge, and he really started to help me. Just pulling into a rest stop here, so we'll get better signal. Although I'm where all the semi trucks are, so I got to figure out how to get to where the cars are here. It's like a fish out of water here. Well, being down in Florida with all the 18-wheelers, here I am in my Toyota RAV4 rental.
Yeah, there you go. Well, if you're in a RAV4, you can still jump some curbs with that vehicle, but be cautious. Florida's the wild, wild west, and I love it. So, but that's my point. Like I was listening to that podcast episode, and it was similar paths, and I was very reminiscent with myself because my first 10, 12 years, not very illustrious, made no money, just burning up engines. I feel like all I did was give my customers a hell of a deal because I worked hard, man. I did the best I could quality-wise, but I feel like all I did was pay interest on loans, make my banker and my insurance agent rich, make my customers' lawns look beautiful and save them a boatload of money. And I think the only person that forgot to make money in this whole equation was myself for a decade. And, so it's when you're sharing these stories, sometimes maybe if you guys are listening in, you've heard the stories, you become maybe even numb or callous to them. And that's fine. And I get it. But if you're thinking all the way back, guys, to maybe your first year in the business, second year in the business, third, some of us 5, 6, 7 years in the business, these little details and the chapters that Paul shares in his book, they really, really sincerely help. And they help us to dial it in to grow a successful business. Because again, where are you going to learn this stuff? I mean, nobody really teaches you unless you have a coach or a mentor. You can watch, YouTube University all day, but a lot of that's fluff. Most of the meat and potato stuff, you have to really get around great people in a mentorship group, or you have to read it and study it, usually in a book or a textbook, or an online class or course, at this day and age. So I'm really, really excited. A lot of words to say. I'm really excited for you, Paul. Big accomplishment. How many hours do you think it takes to write one of your books, Paul? Because I know what a grueling process. People are like, hey, Fullerton, when are you coming out with your second one? Or you have a winter snow book that you hinted at last year, and I had to shelve it because I just did not have enough bandwidth. Hoping to drop that this fall. But I've went through the process. I know it is not easy. It's a very grueling, arduous process. I know our mutual friend, Jeff Joyner, he's come in to share at LAL a couple times. He wrote a book. He's like, that was the most unfun thing he's ever done in his entire adult life. He told me he had like, I don't know, a couple thousand hours into it with writing, editing, different editions, whatever you call it, Paul. So how's that process for you, if you don't mind me asking, as an author and somebody who did an audiobook as well?
Yeah, so something I learned from our mutual friend, Justin Moore, is I bought this hourglass that's literally an hour, and you tip it over and the little fine sand slowly goes through the thing for an hour.
Sure.
So I would go into my office in the morning. I study a lot of Dan Kennedy on time management. So I found, and I don't have a wife and kids, so my schedule is kind of like wide open, but I found usually from like 7:30 to 8:30 a.m. is when I'm like maximize productivity and focus. I've had my caffeine. I'm kind of focused in. So I would go into my office, flip over the hourglass for an hour and be like, I'm going to write for an hour. I'm not going to check social media. My phone's on Do Not Disturb in the kitchen. There's just me and my keyboard for 1 hour. And I would do that pretty much every morning for months. And I would never have the book at the caliber of excellence it's at without Mr. Producer, because I would write, and we had like a working Doc X. So I would write a little bit, and then he would go in, and he's very honest. So he would basically take what I wrote, and then in red letters, he'd be like, stop saying this. You keep saying the same thing. And like, he would give me brutally honest feedback, like, which is awesome. You don't want a bunch of yes men around you when you put something like this out in the world. So he would critique it very rudely, if you will, and share with me how to make it better. And then I would make the revisions, and we just would go back and forth for months. And then eventually we got to the final product. But the other cool thing about this book, you there, Brian?
Oh yeah.
Okay, we got some Florida breeze coming in here off the ocean. I don't know if you could still hear me. It feels great, by the way. The smell of the salt water off the Gulf of Mexico. But
there you go.
In the book, we have what's called your ideal customer worksheet. And so in business, what I noticed when I really interview the very, very successful people, I've had a handful of people on my show that are very successful. And one thing I realized about them is they knew exactly who their customer was. Like, they had it dialed in. And so in the book, I walk you through an exercise, just ask you a whole bunch of questions to help you flesh out and answer the questions so that you can identify, here's actually who my dream customer is. Because once you know who your dream customer is, then you can start having an intentional marketing plan to that exact customer. Mm-hmm. So in the book is actually an interactive worksheet. I mean, you like literally fill in the spaces like you're in school again. But by the time you fill out that worksheet that's in the book, you're going to have a way more clear vision of who is your ideal customer. And then the whole next chapter, we talk about how to actually market to them once you know who they are. So I'm really proud of this book. I think it's absolute fire. And I wish I would have had it, when I was starting out. So I wanted to have been in survival mode. For me, it was years of like everything you just named, of paying everybody else. And then at the end of the day, I'm making pennies. I literally had my accountant that first year. She said to me, she said, Paul, she says, you would have made more money working at McDonald's. And I laughed because I made six figures. Like, revenue was up, I was like, I was walking around thinking I'm all that in a bag of chips because I made six figures, you know what I mean? But I spent six figures, you know what I mean? And so she literally was like, you would have made more money working at McDonald's. And I laughed. And she was like, I'm serious. She's like, you could have, if you would have worked at McDonald's for $9 an hour with all the hours you worked, she's like, you would have made more money because I made it and then I spent it. And so anyway, in the book, I go into detail of why you're laughing. I'm laughing. We've been there. And it's called survival mode, but it really should only be your first few weeks or months. It shouldn't last years. And so in the book, I basically explain if you are in survival mode, here's how you actually get into thriving mode. And I'm really proud of how the book turned out. And I want to say thank you, Mr. Producer, because he narrated it and he really revised a lot of it so that it's to the point. Like you said earlier, YouTube University, there's fluff. This book's no fluff. It's just meat and potatoes from page 1 to the final page. And that's a lot in part for Mr. Producer, really making sure we just get straight to the point, as he likes to say.
There you go. Well, no, that's and I appreciate you sharing all that. That's awesome stuff. The telling sign that I know it's all meat and potatoes is that Mr. Producer reads at a normal reading comprehension level and rate, and the audiobook was 3.5 hours. So there's got to be something there, right? I mean, there's got to be at least 150 pages of something. Because I think your first book was like 81 pages and mine was like 79 pages. I'm just kidding. And you stretched it to 3 hours and a half, and I stretched it to 3:01, if you know what I'm saying. So I'm sure this edition of the book has a lot of great stuff in it, and I'm excited about going through it. Like I said, no lie. Mr. Producer sent me the link just the other day, and I was able to redeem the audio credit. Unfortunately, I redeemed a credit under one of my other accounts, which that account is not on my phone, but it's on my desktop. I don't understand. And I think that's just because my wife's like login or something's on her desktop. Any which way, I'll get to it and I'll be able to listen to it, but it's not on my main phone. So maybe you'll get credit for 2 sales, Paul, if I put it under my other account, my main account as well. But guys, I'm telling you, listening in, you guys are on the mowers all day, driving trucks all day, plowing snow, of course, if you guys listen to this 6 months from now. The audio credits, you got 3 or 4 sitting in your bank, go ahead and redeem one, get Paul's new book, show some love, show him some support. Nobody here is getting rich on lawn care books. I'll tell you that. Actually, let me rephrase that. The only people that can get rich listening to these audio books is you listening in. Okay. That's the wealth of knowledge that you can get from Paul. Hopefully from my book that I wrote last year, and it came out 0 to 100K, same thing, trying to help you guys lay the ground floor. Check them out. They're fantastic reads. They're easy reads. I read Paul's Cut That Grass, Make That Cash. He's got his 101 Proven Ways. I was actually reading the reviews on that just, a week or 2 ago. Somehow it came up and I was checking that out. So a lot of great feedback on I think that's your second book, if I'm not mistaken. You got 3 or 4 now in the queue. So you got the whole series, man. It's like going to Barnes & Noble and looking at the John Maxwell section, and he's got the whole dang shelf,
Yeah, and this one is by far the best one. It's very, very dialed in on maximizing your profits. And I don't care if you're brand new in business or you've been doing it for 15, 20 years, we can all get a little more profitable. And that's what this book is about. And I've really gotten obsessed with profit, the bottom line. And I'm very looking forward to the feedback of you guys who are out listening to it. I just had a couple guys down in Florida, Jordan, I forget the other fellow's name, but they just sent me a message the other day that they went on a road trip and they listened to the audiobook and thought it was fantastic. And these guys, they're mature in their business. They've been doing it for a while. And to get a compliment from somebody like that really pumped me up.
That's awesome.
It's not just for the beginner. It's for anyone who wants to be more profitable. So
I love that, man. I love that. No, absolutely. And well said. I'm, like I said, looking forward to it. And I'm always looking for the details, man. Always looking for just some nuance. I'm always looking for the how-tos, sometimes too much, admittedly, but that's what I feel gets us to be better business owners, especially if you guys are struggling with an area of your life. I love what you said a minute ago. You don't have to struggle for years, folks. Struggle for a couple weeks, couple months, maybe your first, even second season. But you don't have to struggle for 5, 7, 10 years, all right? We don't want to see you do that. You don't have to do that. Paul's proof that you don't have to do that. My turnaround story the last 5, 6, 7 years, I feel is proof that you don't have to do that. Kalen Brady Allman, some other great friends, you don't have to struggle. It can be a rewarding career, a rewarding pursuit, a profitable pursuit, and you guys can make a lot of money in the green industry, okay? So that's what we want to see you guys do. We want to see you guys accomplish, man. So, Paul, one more time. I know we kind of been talking about it for 30 minutes almost, but name of the book one more time. That way, if people are Googling it or Amazon, then Audible, they can find it. What was the name of it?
How to Build a Thriving Lawn Care Business. And the subtitle is Smart Strategies to Maximize Profits. Now, I would recommend the audiobook because Mr. Producer narrates it, and you can speed it up a little bit. And it's an excellent audio quality. However, the actual worksheet is obviously only in the paperback book because with the audio book, you can still pause and answer these questions. And I didn't make up this identifying your ideal customer. I mean, there's other folks that have written about the Dream 100 for your ideal customers and things of that nature. But the book alone for whether it's 5, 10, 15, $20, depending on how you buy it, there's different prices for audiobooks versus paperback. But it's all under $20. And to come out of the book and you actually do the assessment and fill out the worksheet and to know who your ideal customer is, that's worth it alone, because a lot of folks, I feel like, don't really have that fully dialed in.
Sure.
And once you can get, I'm talking, this avatar inside and out, how old they are, what neighborhood they're in, what car they drive, are they male, female? You answer all these questions. It's going to help your business so much, because you're going to start attracting your dream customers. So I say all that to say, get the paperback book, fill out the chapter on identifying your ideal customer, and that alone, I think, will be well worth the ROI. And then if you want to listen to the book by Mr. Producer, by all means, listen to the audiobook. But I'm really glad that we're able to include those questions in the book of identifying your ideal customer. Any business, I don't care if it's Jeff Bezos with Amazon or somebody with a software business or someone with a home service-based business. Once you can answer that question of who your dream customer is with clarity, then everything else is going to accelerate.
I love it. 100%. In fact, just to piggyback on that, and it's funny how we don't talk about any of this stuff before we hit record. We just roll with it. I don't really do a lot of scripted notes, folks, unless maybe it's a corporate guest interview and they got a couple of messaging points, some things they want to cover, which is fine, especially if they're paying, for some sponsored content. But Paul and I didn't talk about any of this before. And I love the fact that you're talking about this assessment, because somebody just DM'd me the other day and they said, hey, could you do a podcast on, what you would change if you did it all over again? And I said, actually, I've already done a podcast episode like that, because somebody asked me that same question a couple years ago. And I said, just look it up. I said 3 things I'd change if I did it all over again, was like the name of the title. But one of them was the name. The second one was the equipment I would have used. I would have went commercial way quicker. I wouldn't have named the company after myself. And number 3 was the type of clientele that I was pursuing. And it's so funny, because once you start identifying the type of clientele and even the services, they kind of go hand in hand with what you can do and where you can build this thing. And it is absolutely critically important. People are like, oh, residential or commercial, or which one makes more money? I go, both. It just depends on what kind of business model you build. But what kind of residential? Trailer parks, $300,000 home values, $800,000 home values, $5 million home values, and where you're doing a $3 million backyard landscape, like, Mr. Mark Bradley does with TBG. You just got to dial it in. And I think that is so undervalued and appreciated, Paul, like you said. And that's, I feel like, honestly, somebody said this once, Paul, it doesn't matter if you have a Ferrari and you got clouds, or not clouds, but fog. If you got fog on the highway, it doesn't matter if you got a Ferrari. You can't go but first gear in 30, 40 miles an hour. But once you get the fog out of the way, then you can drop the hammer, 6th gear, baby, and go 200 miles an hour, whatever, right? But until you remove that fog, you can't. It's just not safe. And if you do go fast, you're going to spin yourself right into a corner. And this is the same thing with your business, guys. Get rid of the fog, dial it in, do a little assessment, do an evaluation on your business. It's not too late right now to prune customers, to change, to shift gears. Don't ever feel stuck. I'm a big proponent of that. Don't ever feel stuck. You can pivot anytime, any day that you guys want, all right? So, Paul, I love it, man. That's kind of what I got for talking about the book, unless there's anything else you want to add, man. But maybe just light it up, drop it down a gear. What else you got going on the rest of the summer, man? I know you're constantly zipping around and zooming around, but I feel like you got the book pushed out, pumped out, and launched, which is great. And that's got to feel a huge weight off your shoulders, man. But what are you gonna do next, and where's the summer taking you, man?
Yeah, that's a great question, and the answer is I have a big move coming up. So I've officially turned in my notice to vacate in good old Atlanta, Georgia, and July I will have a new home. So
cool.
I haven't. My brother just texted me today, like, "Where are you moving? Where are you moving?" And I was like, "I don't know. Like, I'll tell you when I know." I honestly do not know where I'll be living in July, but it won't be in Atlanta, Georgia. I called Atlanta home for since 2008.
Wow.
And I feel like it's time to pack it up and move. Brian, this is Mr. Producer's idea. I sold everything. So I went on Facebook Marketplace. I sold all my furniture, sold my Ford F-150. I mean, I literally sold everything. I met a family that they seemed very, I just kind of liked them, that they have kids, and they seem like they're really good people. And so I gave them a heck of a deal. And I'm going to load up and head to Beverly, like they say in the movie. Not literally Beverly.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to California. But
yeah.
Anyway, I'll keep you guys updated of where my new home is. But pretty excited to try something new.
That's awesome, man. That's all excited for it. Well, you had 20 years or so in Ohio, if I'm not mistaken, then another 15, 18-ish years or whatever it is here in Atlanta. And who knows where the next season of life will take you, man. I'm excited for you. It's almost like we got to get like an online bet going. Hey, where's Paul moving? And pick the name of the state and city, and you win free Equip Expo tickets or something. I don't know, but that's awesome, man. I'm excited for you, bro. We're always rooting for you over here. I know you do a lot with podcasting. Obviously, I know it's a huge commitment. I listen to it darn near every day, every other day, or if I'm not in the field for a couple of days and I binge for 3 or 4 episodes, you got a bunch of great stuff going on, man. We can't thank you enough. One, for your contribution to the industry. 2, just always being an uplifter and an encourager. No particular order. Number 3, man, thanks for being a friend of our show and helping us launch this thing. Gosh, I don't know what, 3.5 years ago, whatever it is now. It's crazy. 3.5 years ago. Our show would not be here, folks, without Paul Jameson coming into my living room in Novi, Michigan at one of our, gosh, was that 4 or 5 years ago now, Paul? Holy shoot, dude.
It was after the first LAL. I think you had your first
2019.
LAL.
Yeah.
And then right after, the next day, I show up and Brian's got a Red Bull in his hand. It's like 9:30 a.m. and he's like, "I'm so exhausted, bro."
Oh,
and I was like, "Where's all your equipment?" He's like, "It's in the garage." I was like, "You haven't even opened it yet." Like, if I got a Rodecaster and mic, I would have opened the box immediately and probably got all excited. But I just threw it in the garage.
I was intimidated, bro. You had, I don't know, maybe a year under your belt podcasting. No way, folks. No way. Like, I don't know. I bought $1,500 worth of podcasting equipment. It sat around for 4 months until Paul came over. I didn't know what to do with it. He's like, dude, all you gotta do is hit. To be honest with you, looking back on it, yes, it is very remedial thing, because that's the board you recommended to myself and a bunch of other great folks out there. That's the perk of this thing. You hit like 3 buttons and you're good to go. Anybody can have a podcast. Okay. But man, I'll tell you what, like I remember that day when you came into the living room and Liz and I think we have an unreleased official episode 1 or episode 0 that Mr. Producer pulled the plug on. So he didn't put that out. But man, taking it back. But we would not exist. We would not have this podcast. Imagine the impact, folks. I mean, imagine if, humbly saying, like, if you've gotten anything from our show ever, a thought, motivation, or just a pump me up, because you're having a bad day, you got to realize that we wouldn't be here without somebody like Paul. So Paul's forever a friend of mine. He's forever in my graces. He's forever a brother. I'm always grateful for him. What does he do? Is somebody tarpon fishing right now or what?
Yeah, someone's looking through the window of my RAV4, so I had to tell him back off.
What?
Yeah. I saw him just staring through the window. So I was like, "Hey, buddy," and then he walked away.
What? Dude, don't get in any fights, man. This ain't Waffle House in Virginia, bro. This is Florida.
I'm at the rest stop in Florida. So these rest stops have some pretty interesting folks. But I will say that was the easiest $1,000 I've ever made in my life, because Brian paid me $1,000 to set up his podcast. And I don't know if you ever seen that social media meme about the plumber, but he's like $250, and it took 1 minute. He's like, $5 to hit it or something, and $245 to know where to hit it.
Right.
And so anyway, Brian's like, "I'll pay you $1,000 to set me up for the podcast." Like, all right. And then, we plug it in the wall and hit the little red button. I was like, there you go.
Hey, listen.
Thank you for the $1,000.
Hey, that was the rate that got your attention, back then, dude. Today I'd have to add some zeros, bro. So it's,
Well, my point was you really could have figured out how to plug it in the wall and hit the button. So, I appreciate the $1,000, Brian.
Whatever. It's all. I think we've ROI'd on that. I hope so. It's been a worthy investment. Hey, Kalfas, I grabbed Kalfas in the winter of 19 and threw him in a Holiday Inn Express room. Him and I, 36 hours, no distractions, no girls, no wives, no kids, no nothing. And he taught me everything I have learned for Launchpreneur Academy and Kajabi, and that's been a very solid ROI. So thank you to Keith. So $1,000, man. People are like, I'm stuck in life and I can't get anybody's attention. I have never had Bedell, number one, charge me. But number 2, I've never had Bedell turn me down when I offered to take him out to a steak dinner. So I'm just telling you, folks, throw a grand at somebody, throw a steak dinner at somebody. They'll get they'll come on up and hang out with you as well, and really help unbox some things for you guys, literally and physically. So, but anyway, Paul, thank you for everything you're doing, man. Keep rocking and rolling with the show. I know it's this time of year, everything is just gangbusters busy, man. But thanks for taking a few minutes out of your busy day to hang out with us, man. The good old, let's wrap it up with where can people find you? I know we're talking about the book, but anything else you got for socials, man, and we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, on social media, the main spot I hang out with is on Instagram. My handle there is @Green Industry Podcast. And then, like Brian said, please get the audiobook, How to Build a Thriving Lawn Care Business. It's absolutely fire. And if you guys find value from the book, which you will, please don't be leaving no 4-star review. We need 5-star reviews, because the way the Audible algorithm works is if we get enough 5-star reviews, then when someone's done listening to a book by Grant Cardone or Gary Vaynerchuk or some other business book, we want this book to, pop up kind of more mainstream. Even though it's How to Build a Thriving Lawn Care Business, it really would add value to anyone looking to maximize their profits. So all to ask you guys is drop a 5-star rating and review on Audible or Amazon. It really goes a long way, and I hope you guys enjoy the book. So
love it, man. Yeah, well said. Yeah, those 5-star ratings and reviews really, really do help. Folks, if you get anything from folks and you want to support them, myself, Paul, or any other content creator, there's a lot of time and energy goes into putting this stuff together. You guys know that. Oh, they're making money. Well, sort of. It's always a catch-22. It costs a lot to do this, and it's costs a lot of time and effort. But I'm telling you, the best way to support, besides monetarily, is just to leave a rating and review. It goes a long way. Myself, Paul, we're forever grateful, of course, for you guys supporting us, and for so many of you guys that have already. So thank you. That's awesome, Paul. All right, brother. We'll let you go, man. Do your thing. Have a beautiful time down in Florida. I'm living vicariously through you, bro. And for anybody wondering where Paul's moving to next, it is not my basement, even though my house is going to be done in July, August. But Paul, if you want to rent the basement, bro, $2,000 a month, you're in, man. It comes with a fully.
No, thank you. I like palm trees and light blue skies and sunshine. And I'll tell you what, there's some ladies down here. If I can't find a wife down here,
hey man, we've got sunny blue skies and puffy clouds like 11 days a year up here in Michigan. The summers are actually not too bad. The
girl that was at the pool yesterday was probably the most beautiful girl I've ever seen in my life. And I couldn't figure out this guy she was with. Like, it made no sense. She was a 10, like perfect, beautiful, up and down, just stunningly beautiful. But anyway, I heard her say she's from Michigan State.
Michigan State?
So, yeah, Michigan State. So apparently you guys crank out some beautiful women up there in East Lansing.
I mean, I think we do. I mean, my wife is a 10. She's smoking hot. I can't really totally speak for the rest of them out there. But, hey, man, she's got some good Midwest values, or even down South values, then you're good to go. West Coast, it's questionable. East Coast, I don't know. Sometimes everybody's what am I? Bethany, forgive me. She's like, yeah, a lot of people in the New England states, they're what we call mass holes. And I'm like, what's a mass hole? She goes, you'll figure it out along the way. I said, fair enough. But that's awesome. Well, hey, we're rooting for you, man. If you ever want to come visit, at least we got a suite downstairs you can always enjoy. But dude, awesome stuff, bro. All right. Well, hey, dude, I'll catch up with you, man. Thanks so much for being on today. And guys, thank you as much for listening as well. Thanks, Paul.
All right. See you, Brian. Bye.
All right. See you, bud. All right, guys. Well, thanks for listening to this episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. You guys always know, man, we super grateful and appreciate you guys listening in and bantering, sharing the show. I was just talking to somebody the other day. They shared it with another friend, and he had sort of lawn care business. Like, dude, you got to listen to Fullerton. And hey, I don't know if that's true or false, but at the end of the day, we appreciate you guys sharing. Literally this morning while I was doing that flower install, I had a guy come up to me. I think his name was Jared, if I'm not mistaken. I was planting like 15 flats of flowers, like I said, sweat and just dripping. It's like 85, 100% humidity, which I know is like, sweater weather for you guys down south. I get it. But it was hot up here for us in Michigan. And he's like, dude, I watched the YouTube channel, listen to the podcast. Dude, thanks so much for everything you're doing. And I'm like, bro, that's awesome. Like, fist bump, and just got to make another friend out there in the industry and out there in the community. So anyway, a lot of words just to say, appreciate you guys. As always, thanks so much for listening. If we can ever be of value or service to you guys, shoot me an email. Shoot me a DM on Instagram. I'm very active on social media. I love hanging with you guys. And again, Rising Tide raises all ships. And that's Paul Jamison in a nutshell. It was so honored to have him on the podcast today. Go check him out, Green Industry Podcast. Go pick up a copy of his audiobook. Let's bump that thing to a #1 bestseller. Sell 10, 20, 30, 50, 100 copies today for him. Show him some love, and appreciate him for, keeping 1,200 plus episodes going, and then some, right, for the Green Industry Podcast. A fun listen. All right. So over and out, guys. Appreciate you. Have a great day. And we'll catch up with you here on the next one. Kujo. Kujo. You know the name. Now experience this incredible work shoe for yourself. Hey guys, Brian here. And just a few years ago, I wondered why there wasn't some lightweight, functional shoe for the lawn care industry. A couple of weeks later, I get a message from this new company, Kujo Yardwear, letting me know about a new shoe they created for lawn care pros. We tried them out, put them to work, and the rest, they say, is history. The guys and I love Kujos because they are lightweight, breathable, super comfortable, and keep our feet dry. No more running shoes with flimsy support and soaked socks due to the morning dew or a passing spring shower. Kujo Yardwear is a family-owned company. Sean and Kelsey are a brother-sister team, and they seriously care about offering the best products for our industry. Check them out at Kujo.com. That's Kujo.com. And don't forget to use the Brian's 10 code to save 10% on your next order. Get a pair for you and a pair for your crew. You'll be so happy that you did.
You know, Brian gets asked all the time, what hearing protection does your crew use? The answer, IsoTunes. IsoTunes are the only brand that we found that offers great hearing protection, all-day comfort, and extended battery life to get through the day. Now through the 16th of June, save 20% on their 4 most popular models using the code BRIANS20 at checkout. Treat your hearing safety seriously. Invest in some good quality hearing protection before this 20% off sale from IsoTunes ends June 16th. If you get Brian's email newsletter, check your inbox for details, and we've also provided a link in the podcast description.
Thanks for taking the time to listen to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast with Brian Fullerton. We hope you enjoyed this production. If so, please consider leaving us a 5-star review for the show. While the techniques and ideas presented here are designed to help you grow a more successful and profitable business, no one can guarantee these results for you. We want to emphasize that entrepreneurship is not easy, and the ideas presented here are just the opinions of Brian Fullerton and his respective guests. No one can guarantee success for you. That being said, we hope the ideas presented here help you and motivate you to go on out there and crush it with your own business.
Fullerton Unfiltered Podcast.
Thanks for listening, and we hope to see you on the next episode.
This has been a Brian Fullerton and Mr. Producer production.